Ladies and gentlemen, it's once again time to talk about one of the saddest cases on the entire internet, and that is Brian Rizzo, or better known as OnlyUseMeBlade. This is a man who had the world in his hands back in the day. The Call of Duty scene was blowing up on YouTube, and Blade was one of the bigger channels. His whole gimmick was that he only used his blade, hence the name OnlyUseMeBlade, while everyone else was using AKs and interventions in Call of Duty lobbies, and all the while Blade is getting high kill streaks only using a tactical knife, which back then and even now is a pretty impressive feat. I'm not sitting here saying that Blade was one of the greatest Call of Duty players of all time, but I am saying that he had a great thing going for him. He's been given many opportunities in his life, and he's squandered just about all of them. Back in the day, he used to do a podcast with Keemstar, and at one point they were even really good friends until they had a falling out. You can say what you want about Keemstar, but if Blade had the money that Keem did, he'd be in a much better spot in his life than he is right now. And you may be wondering, well, where is he right now? What am I even looking at? And what you're looking at, ladies and gentlemen, is a two-part nightmare on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve that OnlyUseMeBlade went through, and he did it live on camera for the entire world to see. And so if you haven't seen this already, you might not know what's going on here. But what if I was to tell you that the entire time I've been talking, Blade's been sitting there nodding off drunk, and just next to him is a sliding glass door leading out to his deck. Blade is at a hotel right now, and knowing someone like Blade who's a pretty heavy smoker, you want that easy smoking access. Oh, and by the way, this is his second hotel of the night. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But now we gotta go back to that sliding glass door I mentioned, because what's behind that door, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it's a bunch of cops, one of which is holding a riot shield, another of which is going to be holding a taser to Blade. And so now I got to tell you the story of how we got to this point, because ladies and gentlemen, it is a story with many twists, turns, and there's only one place for us to start: Christmas Eve night, high atop Meth Mountain. You see this guy right here? If you couldn't tell by his hoodie and the ball in the background, his name is Orange. And Orange here, he's been someone who I've seen on Blade's streams for a few years now. He shows up every now and again, and Blade's whole chat says that he's piping down Blade's ex-girlfriend Beck. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that's true because, you know, Blade's chat does love to do a lot of trolling. And you know who else loves to do a lot of trolling? Orange. As I mentioned, I've seen this guy on Blade streams before, and he was never a particularly entertaining dude. He was someone who sat there and tried to give life advice and got really offended when people would tell him he sounded like a dickhead. But now, here he sits with OnlyUseMeBlade in his RV, Christmas Eve night, and again, I keep having to pose the question, but you may be asking, how did Blade get here? And ladies and gentlemen, it's a sad story. And I know that's what we said at the beginning, but you know what? I don't lie to y'all. And everything about this situation is just really friggin' sad. So the reason we're here, ladies and gentlemen, is because Blade was at another guy's house. He's been house hopping almost the past year, and that guy had to kick him out because Blade kept pissing in his guest bed. So then Blade made plans to go home for the holidays. He had had a fight with his mom recently. He wanted to become like a legal caretaker for his mom because she's been going through some illnesses lately. Blade wanted to move back in, try to take care of her, and the government would pay him for it. But we all know what would have really happened in this situation. He would have gotten drunk himself, and his sickly mother would have had to take care of him. Now that whole agreement fell apart one night when Blade called up his mom, and his mom had talked about how she believed some fentanyl patches of hers had been stolen by Blade's cheating ex-girlfriend Beck. Blade decided to take the side of his ex, despite Beck being one of the only people with access to the apartment at the time. But I digress. That's what broke things down, and his mom said she no longer wanted Blade as her caretaker. But then Christmas rolls around, and as every mother would, she at least wants to see Brian. But what does Blade do? He decides, well, why would I go see my mother when I can go chill with this random dude I hang out with from time to time up in his RV in the middle of nowhere on Christmas Eve night so I can get plastered on stream, something I probably can't do at my mom's house. And ladies and gentlemen, he did just that. So Blade stays with this dude for a couple of nights, and over the course of those days, a few funny things happen. Blade goes hiking and can't walk more than like 60 feet before having to sit down and take a break. On the other hand, his cheating ex Beck calls him just to call him smug, which is something that everybody in the chat seemed to agree with. But over the course of the couple of days, people started to notice just how crazy this Orange guy was, and it all culminated on Christmas Eve night, because all during the day of Christmas Eve, Blade was just getting trashed, sitting there doing shot after shot. So about the time like 7:30 ran around, he was trying to get his ass to sleep, as Blade always does when he has too many drinks. I mean, as most people do when they have too many drinks, but Blade does this on a nightly basis. So he does go to bed, and that's when the fireworks start to go off, ladies and gentlemen, because this dude Orange just gives Blade one of the most hellish nights he's ever had. And I mean, we've seen nights where guys will like paint on Blade, maybe like just kind of slap him around, but Orange just did not stop for like 5-6 hours. Now, the thing I remember the most about watching this stream live is the fact that Orange just kept jumping up and doing like front flips and back flips onto Blade. Now, sadly, all the clips I've found don't seem to show this, and I can't go back and watch the full stream for myself because Blade's channel has since been deleted here on YouTube, which is something we'll get to later on. But that's all this dude Orange was doing flips onto Blade, doing like these horse kicks to him. At one point, he gets on top of him and just starts teeing off on him. I'm pretty sure soon here you're gonna see him pour milk on Blade. Like, yeah, right there. There's another clip where he just straight up pours it on Blade's face. I don't know where that clip is, but you see the milk all over Blade later in the video. You may have already seen it, and it's just gross thinking that he slept like that with all this spoiled milk on him when he woke up. But then again, that's what Blade probably deals with a lot when he's on these RVs. People just throw food and stuff around. Look at his I'm sorry, I just saw the screen. Like, you see Blade's face in that situation. Like, it's where he really realizes that shit has gotten real. And I'm telling y'all, it really did seem like for a while here, this was about to get a lot worse than what you'd think would happen. Orange put like a plastic bag over him while Blade was sleeping. Orange just kept going crazier and crazier as the night went on, piling things onto Blade, stomping on him. Like, I can show you that clip right now. Like, see this? Like, what? Like, I know the guys have gone crazy before, like pouring paint onto Blade. Like, Chicken Andy always tries fighting him when he's drunk, but Orange just like for a consistent like 6-7 hours just would not stop, like just pouring stuff on Blade, doing flips onto Blade. And like, I've had it muted the whole time, but Orange was saying some pretty out there stuff too, so it had people worried. Despite Blade's chat always seemingly wanting the worst for him, I don't think there was one person who was watching this live who wasn't thinking that this could have gone even worse really quickly. But for what it was still an absolute shit show. But what I thought more than anything was the most sad part of this night is what happened a little bit earlier before Orange really started to go crazy, because Blade got a call from his mom, and I know in the beginning of the video we discussed that Blade kind of just blew her off to go over here. Well, while Blade was passed out drunk in bed, his mom had called him, presumably to want to wish him a Merry Christmas, again, as all mothers probably would with their kids. And Blade, what do you think he did? Do you think he picked up and was like, "Oh my god, Mom, Merry Christmas to you too, you're the best, love you"? No, he just sat there and went, he just made like unintelligible, like drunk sounds while Orange told him, "Hey, your mom's calling, you probably should pick up the phone." Dude. Alright, dude, I'll do what I want, dude, figure it out, dude. Like, it's like, come on, like, imagine, put yourself in that situation. Your mother's calling you to wish you a Merry Christmas, and you can't even pick up the phone because you drank too many Jaeger shots with some random dude named Orange in his RV somewhere in the hills of California. What a weird way to spend Christmas. But I assume for someone like Blade, he'd have it no other way. But look at this guy on screen. Orange, he was so proud of himself. In one night, he made Blade have maybe the worst Christmas ever, and you know what happened the next day? Well, nothing happened, because while everyone assumed Blade would go live, Blade didn't go live, and of course the chat presumed that Blade had passed on, but that's not what happened. Blade left the mountain after being tormented by Orange all night, and ended up at the house of this woman here. Now, this woman's not even really worth mentioning by name. She's the definition of a clout chaser. The best way to describe her would be like a streamer groupie. She invites people like Blade and Chicken Andy into her house with open arms and treats these guys like they're celebrities. Blade can do no wrong in people like this woman's eyes. Blade was sitting there pissing on her couch every single night, and she didn't give a damn. Why? Because it's OnlyUseMeBlade. That's amazing. But after only a few days of being here, Blade got kicked out like he always does, and these two, however, did remain friends after the situation. The reason that Blade had to leave is because people found out this woman's address and her information. They started contacting family members saying that Blade was like doing stuff to her at the house, which I don't know if it was or was not happening, although I do believe they probably just said he was disrespecting the house, which he 100% was, although she didn't seem to care about it. And then Blade ended up right back at a hotel just in time for New Year's Eve. So Blade spent his New Year's at some random hotel, completely alone, doing exactly what you assume he would be doing. Drinking tons of shots of Jaeger, trying to forget about the bad week he had beforehand. And you know, maybe things were going to be good for Blade this night. Maybe he was going to be able to celebrate, stand out on the deck and watch the fireworks, and be really optimistic for the year to come. But before the party could get started, it abruptly ended, as the manager of the hotel came to Blade's room and informed Blade that he was being asked to leave the hotel. Now, this is because a bunch of people started calling after they'd figured out where Blade was staying, and they let the hotel know that Blade was doing some really shady shit online. Now, what exactly did they say he was doing? I'm not sure. The hotel only specified, like, inappropriate content or whatever, but, again, that was all it took for them to go down to Blade's room and ask him to get the hell out of there. So, he packed his bags, he did another shot, and he made his way over to yet another hotel. And once he got there, Blade began to immediately start the party right back up again, slugging shots and catching up on the valuable drinking time that he had just missed. And the stream starts to divulge into exactly what you expect a drunk OnlyUseMeBlade stream to be. Him calling everyone poor and saying the N-words more time than a human can even count. But to be fair, Blade does have his funny moments here and there, especially this one where Chicken Andy calls him just to let him know that he has quit drinking and has found God.
Just trying to say Happy New Year's, Brian Rizzo. Hello.
So we doing shots, or what are we doing?
I'm sick of it, but I don't really drink anymore, Brian. I found Jesus. I've been,
Yeah, I don't really listen to fucking poor people anymore, so, but the fuck?
But as previously mentioned, the stream then begins to divulge into Blade just with his drunken ramblings as it always is, and again here comes the manager of this hotel informing Blade that she wants to talk to him at the front door.
This is the front desk. You need to come to the door right now.
Maybe you should shut the fuck up.
Sir, you need to leave.
Maybe you should poop a little bit.
Yes, ma'am. It's the quality end.
Sorry, I'll be there. Well, this is empty. Hey, she died. Wait, where is the vote?
So the second Blade tells the woman to shut the fuck up, she tells him he has to leave the hotel. I imagine she was going to tell him that anyway, but he's already at that point where his words are getting more and more slow and hard to understand. The lady at the front desk calls the cops, all the while Blade has hit that blackout point where he can barely even like do anything. I mean, look at him on screen right now. But before you know it, he gets a burst of energy and just starts punching a light and then like spitting on stuff. It's really weird.
The fuck, nigger?
I'm telling you, this guy is the definition of I remember my first beer, but his first beer is every single night. You know, I have friends who are alcoholics, and they drink every hour of every day, but at least they hold themselves together to not just like go around punching things, run around saying stupid shit. I mean, they definitely say stupid shit, but not to the extent Blade does. I've once heard someone ask Blade if he could just stop saying the N-word and stop doing all the foolish things he does when he's drunk, like groping women and throwing dogs, and his excuse is always that he can't help it. Once he gets too drunk, anything can happen. And at that point, you just wonder, well, why not stop drinking? But he can't because it's the only way he can make money. So again, you go back to the first question, why not just try to stop being such an idiot when you're drunk? And I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, New Year's Eve was a good litmus test for me too, because I was absolutely trashed. I'm talking blacked out. And I asked Miss Smokey, hey, did I do any of these following OnlyUseMeBlade things? Wet the bed? Start screaming the N-word in public? No, didn't do any of those things. I imagine a lot of you guys got trashed on New Year's too and didn't do that. But for Blade, it's such a hard mountain to conquer, you know? He can't get up that hill no matter what he does. He is permanently a degenerate alcoholic and he'll never be able to change his ways. A lot of people think he'll get wiser with age. Blade seems to not change and he never has. But to get back to the situation at hand, we're now looking at the same situation we started the video with. Blade is sitting in that chair with the cops directly behind him behind the glass door. It's right out there. I'm pretty sure the deck is connected with the front lawn, so it wasn't hard for the cops to find him. And so once they get in there, they ask to see his hands. They try to, I think, arrest him, but they realize how drunk he is and end up just sending him to the hospital. Blade basically got taken in, probably would have been put in the drunk tank if he was even a little less drunk, but he was so blacked out that they had to take him to an actual medical facility, which again just further proves the point that Blade can't hang. However, it's probably a good thing for him that he got to avoid going to jail and just going to sit in a hospital somewhere. Blade got out of jail, I'm pretty sure, the next day, and everyone was wondering when the next stream on his YouTube channel would happen to explain everything that went wrong. And ladies and gentlemen, it never came, because as I previously mentioned, Blade's channel was deleted a few days ago. Not by his own hand, it was terminated for hate speech. Not only his account, but his backup account that was Beck's. So now Blade is over streaming on Kick. And surprise, surprise, he's back with the groupie woman that we spoke about in the midpoint way of this video. Of course she couldn't help herself from taking the guy back in. And so that's what Blade's been up to recently. Despite having a really crummy New Year's and Christmas, he seemed to be bouncing back, having high view streams on Kick. He's got like 3,000-4,000 people watching sometimes, but he's just over there making a complete ass out of himself like usual. Because again, that's the only reason people watch someone like Blade. They don't watch him to feel good about themselves, which to be honest, is probably something people can do when watching him. Because you see someone whose life is such a dumpster fire, it kinda does make you feel better about even no matter how shitty your situation is. But Blade puts himself in these positions constantly. He could have had a nice Christmas at home with his mom, but he just had to go have some drinks up with his buddy Orange, who I guarantee you he'll never hang out with again after that night. And I imagine if he made up with his mom, he probably could have spent New Year's there too. But he always chooses to take the lonely route, and the route that ends up getting him as many drinks as he wants and as many fire sales as he can handle. Ayo, ladies and gentlemen, figure it out. And that's really the crux of this video. Brian Rizzo, OnlyUseMeBlade, figure it out. This is a man who was sitting in his car a few weeks ago, breaking down in tears, crying about how he needs a break and how much his life sucks. And it's hard to feel bad for someone when you've seen them on stream throwing dogs, and then you hear them try to justify it by saying, oh, it doesn't matter and people don't understand the gist of it. You took your ex's side over your mother when you know there's a damn good chance that your ex is the one who stole them pills or fent patches or whatever the hell they were. Once somebody steals from your mother, you should just cut all ties, but he can't do that. And the reason he can't do that is because this woman, his ex, you know, the one I keep mentioning, cheated on him with a dude 20 years younger than him, same guy he was just on the phone with there, Chicken Andy. He knows that she's probably the only thing he could get at this point in his life, so he's trying to make good with her. It's really pathetic scenes from Blade, and it makes his streams really tough to watch, because every now and again you get those moments where he's just like a drunk buffoon running around his hotel room saying some outlandish stuff. You know, when he's not just spewing racist nonsense, sometimes he can say some funny things, but it is few and far between. And really all you get anymore when you watch an OnlyUseMeBlade stream is a 40-year-old man just drinking his pain away, and it's just sad. That's what I started this video by saying, and that's how I'm going to end it. That's the whole deal with OnlyUseMeBlade. He's just really sad. And, you know, you gotta hope that one day the dude can do better for himself, but if he keeps going down this path of not giving a shit about anything, not even himself, it's never gonna happen. And I do apologize to anyone if this video seemed a little more cynical than any of my other ones, but when you see Blade and see everything he's pissed away and how he treats other people, it's really, really tough to have any sympathy for this guy. But I did want to sit here and tell you the story of his crazy week anyway, because it's always funny to see the lolcows just doing lolcow stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to tell y'all Happy New Year if I didn't say it 2 years before, and I want to let y'all know that we got a lot of big things planned for this year ahead. So I hope you guys stay tuned, and if you like this, well, we got a nice community here, and we'd love to have you. And until the next one, my friends, I hope y'all stay safe and have a great rest of your week. And I just wanted to end this video by saying a massive shout out to all the clip channels. This video wouldn't even be possible if it wasn't for them because of Blade's channel getting taken down. People like Papa Greeny, Based IRL, and IRL Moments, all those channels will be linked down in the description below. The fact of the matter is, these clip channels are legends. A lot of Blade's stuff goes away at a moment's notice because YouTube doesn't like the content he does. Hell, they don't even like the content I do, and that's why I always tell people, if you want to archive my stuff, feel free to do so. But I always tell everyone you should archive everything you see, you either like, or you think will be important later, because the internet's a really touchy place nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. You never know when things are going to be gone. But people like that I just mentioned, go check them out if you want to keep up to date with Blade. And yeah, I'm out of here, y'all. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.